Growing up, I always wanted to do so many things.
I wanted to be a vet.
I wanted to be an actor.
I wanted to be a celebrity by any means necessary.
This is Spike Drop Vegas Heist.
I'm only here for a 2B. I don't really care about any other place.
Can't even comprehend what is going on, but I like it.
My name's Addie, gamer tags Kittycataddy, and this is Wannabe.
But yeah, no, this is my bear hat that I got.
My love of gaming first started, to be honest, actually with my parents. They met through arcade games. I had a fascination for arcade games as a kid, and then I discovered the CS, Counter-Strike Source. And I was obsessed. I was obsessed with shooter games. I was obsessed with just this concept of, oh, there's things that are modern gaming that isn't just Mario or Tetris. So I kind of started from there, working as a volunteer, working at Apex, working at Halo events, working as a volunteer at Evo, things like that. And then eventually I realized, oh, there's all these talented folks, both in front of the camera, but also behind the camera. And at some point I then was like, hey, I could take, my other hobbies, which is photography, videography, producing, just creative stuff, and try to put it back into esports. I was born in Vegas in '95. My experience in Vegas is kind of both positive and kind of negative. Up to 10 years old, it was fine. It was like any other kid, right? It wasn't until middle school did things get kind of rocky. I experienced a lot of bullying in my middle school years, and I actually didn't make too many great friends either. My dream job was to be a choreographer, so I actually thought about dropping out of high school because I didn't see the point of needing a career, and also a lot of my friends at the time were not interested in graduating and stuff. It kind of made me realize how important it is that I need to always stay grounded. I was able to turn it around, graduate, and then I actually left immediately after I graduated high school. And that's why I was in St. Louis, Missouri for both college, and then I stayed there for a total of 7 years. And then I moved back to Vegas in 2020. And it was 2022, and I'm like, I don't know this city anymore. There's all these new restaurants and stuff. I'm like, what the heck is all this? And, it's kind of an odd experience for me coming back to Vegas after being away for so long. But I think Vegas, I would say, if I told anybody now, oh, should you move to Vegas? I think so. And I think it's I think there's a lot more things to do now. I think there's a lot more of a vibrant city now. I think it's actually a really cool place to be now. I wouldn't say my time in Vegas and my life in Vegas was perfect or great, but I learned a lot of good life lessons, though. Most of the time now, I call myself a creative director and broadcast technician. I also do a lot of creative directing as well, for either shows or for indie films and different things like that. So a lot of times for shows, I will spend 300 hours before a show watching streams and content on that game, because I need to know what do people like to see, how do they want overlays to look, what's the flow that people like, as far as a tournament viewer, but also as a competitor, etc. But I also in that time usually play the game. I game a lot, and really for me, how I knew I loved gaming was the fact that I could do it by myself and it be stress relieving. And although it's work, it ultimately is me having fun as well. And it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'm very lucky and fortunate to be able to say, oh, while creativity sometimes feels like a chore and finding ideas can feel like a chore, the fact that the base of it all comes from gaming is something that makes me happy and that I love to do. And I'm very, very lucky and fortunate to say that honestly is what helps me stay level and balanced in the field. But that's also why when people ask me, should I get into esports, I tell them you have to love gaming, and ultimately you really need to be passionate above all else, because you will burn out. It is a very easy thing to burn out from. Esports right now is in a weird spot where you have content creators who make a lot of money are trying to make huge shows, but their team is not necessarily used to using high-end equipment, not used to even running a usual show that's what we would expect to see even for an award show or whatever. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have traditional TV and traditional broadcast that's dying because younger people aren't watching TV. But you have all these folks trying to get into the industry of, well, I have all this experience in film and stuff, let's let me help you bring on a show, but they don't understand Twitch and they don't understand the young audience, right? So it's actually an interesting point right now where the two sides are trying to merge together, but they're having a lot of clash. So you could have a technical director that has worked for shows like The Price is Right or whatever, or older TV for 30 years. They're going to struggle still trying to run a event for Ludwig because it's not the same age group or even audience and background. If you can get any volunteer experience in just traditional broadcast first, go and do that. Because the reality is all the big money shows are using equipment that they're borrowing from TV studios, from live production, from what you would expect in Hollywood and things like that. If you're looking at just any game that's really making a lot of money, they want you to have a level of broadcast experience. So either volunteering at a local TV station, a lot of TV stations either will take interns or they will do volunteer programs and things like that. Public channels are also a really great way to also get into that as well. I lived in St. Louis, Missouri for a good period of time, and there is a TV station called the Higher Education Channel that offered students an internship there. And so that's actually where I got a lot of my traditional broadcast experience from. And start from there. It sounds weird because it's like, I want you into gaming. I know. Trust the process. Get knowledge in broadcast first. Get knowledge in how to use a FS7, how to use an audio board, how to use a lighting board. Get that knowledge first, because then when you turn around for these larger shows or for esports shows, you can go, hey, I know how to work these things. And they're more likely to take you than someone who doesn't know that information.